ॐ निरञ्जनं नित्यम् अनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पाधृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमिड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामः. Namaste and welcome to our Sunday talk on the subject of meditation, guided meditation, especially for those who are beginners. We share with you some of the discussions on that subject of meditation so that you can start on your own, and in time you can reach out and get personalized individual guidance as to what should be the specific practices suitable for your mental makeup. So, over the last few classes, we had been discussing the subject of or the powers of the mantra Om. How those powers have the double effect of removing the obstructions in the path of meditation. Meditation here means developing the necessary concentration of the mind and having the capacity or the willpower to withdraw that mind from the pursuit of external sense enjoyments, turning it around and trying to focus it to that internal source of consciousness from which proceeds that power in which activates our thinking process, illumines our thoughts and minds, activates our senses, our body, and our engagement with the external world. So most of the time we are aware of this body. The body has got 5 organs of actions: the hands, the feet, the mouth, the organ of excretion and regeneration, and we are engaged in activity. These are called organs of action, karma indriyas. There are 5 organs of knowledge through which we know what's happening around. The 5 sense organs: the eyes, the ears, the skin, the nose, and the tongue. Through this, we sense the outside world and interact with that. Behind that, there is a mind, which is not a physical thing, but we know its contents are thoughts, ideas, uh, emotions, happiness, misery, likes, disgust. All these are different states of the mind. But there is something that is illumining the inner content. Just like in an external world, we need some light to see things. In a dark night, when you go out, because there is no external source of light, we do not experience or perceive things even though they are there. We require some sort of source of light, like the sunlight, which comes, bounces of the objects, comes into our eyes. The eyes concentrate it with the help of the eye lenses, converts into an electrical signal. It goes down the optic nerve to the brain optic nerve center, and there somehow an image is created, and we say we see a tree or something. But if there's no external light, then the internal perception does not happen. So something is necessary to illumine the external objects for the perception to happen. Likewise, what is necessary to illumine the internal objects of our thoughts and minds and emotions so that that internal perception happens? Just like we see things outside and we see, I see. When you see inner thoughts, you also say, I see. When you're explaining and understanding, you nod your head and say, I see, I see. That means you're able to focus on the thought contents, the ideas in the mind. Now, the question is asked, just like in the external world, we have this sun to illumine the external objects. What is that light that illumines the internal objects of our thoughts and ideas? We would like to know a little bit about that. And they say that's the light of consciousness. We are a conscious being. If I'm not conscious, I'm asleep, so to say, then the contents are there, the memories and thoughts are there, even the external senses are also there, sound is coming out and everything, but we do not perceive. So that becomes an important factor, because without that, nothing happens. Even the senses don't function, the internal perception don't happen. So this understanding that I am separate from the mind. The mind is just as a movie that's running in front of me. And I'm watching that movie. All thoughts, good and bad, are coming through. Sometimes we have a little bit of content depending on what environment we are in. But our internal thoughts that are coming, bubbling from a memory, sometimes we don't have very much control over them also. They just come and disappear. Some are good ones, some are troublesome ones like worries, anxieties. We want to throw them off, but they keep on jumping into the mental picture and agitating the mind, so to say. So, what is that something that is different that will empower me to get control over that thought process, to be able to attach to something, to focus on any particular idea that I like, and I zoom onto that and I look at it in great. So that's called paying attention to something. Or when I don't like something, I can just brush it aside, move it out of the window, and say, I'm not interested in you. That much control should be there. So normally we don't have that much control on our mind because the controller is not strong enough. This controller is called the intelligence or buddhi, the observer, the watchman. But you have to keep in mind that, look, if you use the analogy of a cinema hall, the big screen is there and the movie reel is there, it's rolling through. But if there's no light from the projector, then the movie doesn't show up. So, what is that light inside us that illumines the thoughts also? And meditation is about trying to get back into that source, to have that awareness. So, in the midst of the day, while we are going around doing things, there's a nice practical spiritual discipline that we can do is take a pause and say, what's happening? I'm seeing things outside, the senses are functioning, everything is happening. I'm seeing the internal thought process also. Who is watching that? What is that inner light that is illumining my thoughts? I want to become aware of that also. Most of the time, we are not aware of the light that illumines. We are just aware of the objects that are seen. For example, we see outside things. We don't say the sunlight and that light is illuminating or that light from the light bulb is illuminating. We are just seeing things out there. Likewise, we are seeing the thoughts in our minds, but we are not aware of or conscious of that light of consciousness which is illumining the thoughts. So that type of awareness and subtlety has to be developed by turning around and said, what is that in me? Because I am really not this body, not the senses, not even the mind, not even that intelligence. I am that light of consciousness. And I want to be anchored in myself. I'm a witness to all these things. Things appear and disappear, but I am unaffected by all the changes that are happening in front of me. Like you might see a comedy or tragedy, but there might be bloodshed on the screen and everything, but when the movie is over, there's nothing there. Likewise, all these emotions of happiness and unhappiness, anger, hatred, jealousy, greed, the negative ones, or even the good ones, kindness, compassion. These are just waves and vrittis. They're called thought waves appearing in that mind scope, so to say, space. And we are different from it. This one idea is a very powerful idea for those who want to empower themselves in the field of mental wellness. Mental ill health fundamentally is when we become identified with that thought and you say, I am unhappy. Actually, there's an unhappy vritti or thought wave that is going in your mind. But our attachment and identification makes us think that we are unhappy. So if we can now detach ourselves from that process and say, I'm different from the mind, unhappiness is a state of the mind that's passing, caused by something outside. It could be some pain that's in the body that's making you miserable, or something has happened outside there to people or situation which we are attached to, and that is happening. But really, you are not happy or unhappy. Mind is getting into a happy state or unhappy state. We are separate from the mind. And we want to take that step backwards and be in that observer witness situation to be detached from that thing. Now, how to do that? The sages give the technique and they say, look, there are different dimensions of the human personality, the physical, the mental, the intelligence, and beyond that, there is something else also. We have a vague idea of ourselves being a conscious being, and they say that it's a very faint reflection of that infinite power of that being or entity called the Atman. Atman is like the beautiful infinite sun. When it comes out, all darkness disappears. But the intellect is like a little torchlight with which you see a few things in the darkness, rest of things are not known. So we cannot really depend too much on or totally depend on the intellect, but some help is better than working in the total darkness also. So use that intellect up to a certain point, but we have to go beyond that intellect. Use the mind, but you have to go beyond that also. Have a sense of that ego, but we have to go beyond the limitation of the ego also. And the method that teaches repetition of this mantra Om. It's not a word. The word is the grossest part we experience when we hear it through our ears. It means somebody says the word Om, he has got an idea or some thought inside, he articulates it by vibrating the air. That vibration travels across, hits our eardrum. The ear focuses it on the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates, it converts into an electrical signal. That electrical signal goes down the auditory nerve or the olfactory nerve to the auditory nerve to the back of the brain, and there it creates some type of signal which we say that is that sound, and that sound is related to some idea, and you capture that idea. You can drop the sound, they got the idea. Somebody said a cow, well, immediately understand that cow, and that picture of the cow comes. Not the word cow comes in your mind, the picture of the cow comes in your mind, and you drop the word. It could be a word in Hindi or in English or Sanskrit, it doesn't matter, but the image, the meaning is conveyed, and you capture that. So the word is the vehicle through which that energy was being transmitted to us, and we receive it, drop the message, get the message in the letter is not necessary anymore, type of thing. So here again, this word Om that is heard through the physical ears, it's called Vaikhari, through the gross body. Vikara means the body. So through using a gross instrument, that sound is there. But behind that, there are many finer dimensions or energies of that sound Om. And we have been discussing that how all these three merge into Om, that merges into the bindu, the dot, which is the symbolic of light. So that sound energy is energy. Now it becomes even higher energy, which is light. That light energy becomes finite, goes to different levels of it. The Om is the trail through which, by getting a hold of at one end, we try to access those subtler dimensions of that power that was originally coming from that source. The source, they say, is that supreme being called Brahman. Om, being the Shabda Brahman, is the first manifestation of it. From there, it rolls down, so to say, and it becomes grosser and grosser and grosser, passes through the mind, and it comes to the physical level where we can hear that sound through our ears. What we want to do is in meditation is to get hold of that Om and trace the link back to the source. So now you understand, when you're repeating the mantra Om, and it should not be done mechanically, it should be done with great concentration and focus. At that time, in our mental space, so many ideas are there. Okay, we want to slowly zoom into that. As we zoom into it, certain ideas will drift out and some will get magnified and occupy that space. When you zoom in again, like in a microscope or telescope, whatever we are focusing on becomes enlarged and other things drift out of the mental space. So you can visualize your mental space is to be crowded with so many ideas and thoughts, but you're going to focus your whole attention on that Om. And as you do that, you'll find that other ideas will automatically drift out. So how do you measure your degree of concentration is absence of all unnecessary ideas and total preoccupation with that one singular idea on which you want to focus. So that idea will then reveal itself in greater detail. And you can see, try to follow that Om starting with riding it slowly through the various stages and merging without being into a rush to go back again. Try to follow it with great concentration. One of the things you'll see is that the flow of the ideas in your mind becomes slow. Okay, you'll find that you can see the words sort of literally rising. As your concentration becomes better, the flow of time in your mind will become less and less and less. Basically, it's like things are running in slow motion in your mental mind, so to say. You've seen movies and things that can be done in slow motion. Almost you can see how when it's going at normal speed, so many things happen that your eyes cannot capture them. But when you do it in a slow motion, you can see the details of how the development of the thought takes place. So as you focus totally on the mantra, and that's why it should be done with great devotion, concentration, focus, so to say. You'll see the mantra rising, and when it goes to the end, before it some other thought comes and latches and takes you out for another ride, you have to be alert to be able to link it back to the source again, beginning of the mantra, and keep it in that loop. So you'll see one part of your mind is focusing on that movement, concentrating on the Om. That we can say is the active mind. There's another part of the mind watching whether you are still on that process or you have gone somewhere else. Now, this second part is called, let's call the reflective mind or the buddhi. And as you do your meditation regularly, you'll find that this reflective mind becomes stronger and stronger. That is the test, that you are constantly alert to the whole process of that meditation. It's not something mechanically going on, or you drifted off to some sleep, or you went for another thing, and after 15, 20 minutes, you felt, that was very good. But what was I doing? I do not know. The details are not available. In a good meditation, you will have a heightened state of alertness and awareness of that whole process that's happening there, and you're totally locked into that loop type of thing. So that's why through practice that comes. Now, Om is not simply a sound or some energy. Energy does something to us. And we say here, as we focus more and more on that, that energy will begin to reverberate from the at different dimensions of our being. It becomes awakened soul, activated. So we begin to resonate with that energy. We tune in that with that energy. And when that energy begins to flow into us, and it has got some wonderful effects in us. And those things we have been discussing, that all the distractions that were there in the process of meditation, when we're trying to say the mind, body is feeling tired, I am feeling lazy, that too many doubts and things are in there. Sometimes you feel enthusiastic about it, sometimes you don't. Some days you have some good concentration, other times you try and the mind is all over the place. Sometimes when you have the concentration, you are able to hold it for a while, then it slip out of it. Other times you can hold it for longer. So all these are the challenges in there. Now, what is the remedy? Is there some way I can sort this out? They say you don't require any external additional support. The power of Om itself does that removal of the distractions and illumination of the mind. So distractions are those things that are like the dust that has accumulated on the mirror of the mind. And as you remove them, automatically the image becomes clearer. The image reveals itself. So pratyek chetana adhigamo antaraya abhavascha. All these antaraya, obstructions, distractions, abhavascha, are removed step by step, not in one shot. It can happen in one shot, but that will not be through your help. That is what's called grace. When the divine within us is called kripa siddhi. By God's grace, it happens. How does it happen? Well, if you go to a room that has underground, cellar that has been in darkness for 1,000 years, and somebody goes and lights a match or on the flick, so you have the switch. How long does it take for the darkness to disappear? It doesn't take a year slowly. It just disappears in a second. That is what is called divine grace. When the divine power inside us becomes gracious, in one flash it can remove it. And therefore there are two ways. One is, of course, you do your prayer and meditation step by step, but you can approach the divine and say, hey, look, my mind is in a total mess. I don't have much control over it. Can you please do the needful? I take total surrender to you. That is called Ishvara Pranidhana. That means the divine power, which is represented or denoted by that sound Om, is a living conscious being. We're not talking about that light like sunlight. It's not a living light, but consciousness is a living thing. You can communicate with it, you can talk to it, it can respond to you, just like we do with people, because people are living beings. A stone is also living, but it doesn't have that manifestation of that consciousness, so it's not able to respond. Maybe it can hear what we're saying, but it's not able to talk back to us, type of thing. A tree can hear, but it cannot talk. Animal can respond in some way. living beings can talk to us, human beings can talk to us like that. So where the manifestation of power is more, the communication is better. This Ishvara, who is being represented by this word Om, Tasya Vachaka Pranava, the sound, the name of the being whom I'm calling to. Like I talk to somebody, I call you by your name. You know I'm talking to you. You will know, get my attention, you listen and will communicate. Likewise, we can communicate with our higher consciousness within us. That communication is when you call somebody's name, that person responds. When you call Om, knowing that you are not only repeating that mantra, but you are talking to somebody, and that person expecting a communication and a response from them. That's how you should approach. That the reality inside you is more real and alive than I am. I am more, the body is living and alive, but there's a life force which is more powerful at a deeper level of our being. And we are trying to now turn the mind around from its engagement to the external world, turn it around, and we want to engage with that internal living being. After some time, you'll find some communication will happen. You'll feel that warmth and the presence of that being around you. You're in that beautiful space, you feel protected, guided, there's no fear and all that. And you say, wow, that's nice. That's how we are approaching and feeling that. And as we develop that communication, you'll find that that being steps, if you allow it into your everyday life, in your decision making, in your activities, provided you hold that awareness of that presence around. Just like at your home, you're busy with certain things, but if there's some guest or somebody is around the house, you know he's around there. You can feel his presence. Maybe you're not talking to them, but he's or she is around. Okay, you can talk to them and they'll respond. Like that, that having that awareness of that spirit, presence of that entity inside us, which is the source of that consciousness and intelligence, and then engaging in the things, activities of the world, that itself becomes a spiritual discipline. So how do we do that? In the midst of all your activities, let this repetition of the Om keep on going gently in the subconscious mind. Along with that, have that awareness of the divine being deep inside, which is the source of all power, consciousness. Because you are conscious, the body is happening and doing all these things, the senses are functioning, the mind is thinking, I have even a sense of I-ness. But if you're not there, all this falls apart. I don't want to lose that awareness. I'll try to maintain a little bit of that in the midst of every activity. But morning and evening during meditation, I want to really intensify that. So we talked about the powers of the Om. Today we'll just take a little bit more of that and see, conclude this topic. So here we said this Om has got, when we repeat the mantra Om, it takes care of 5 of those or 9 of those problems that obstructions we felt. First was sickness of the body, so general well-being of physical health will improve. Second was incapacity of the mind. The mind is not wanting to do things like you go to the gymnasium, you can hardly lift 5 kgs. Okay, you want to lift 50 kgs. Through exercise, the strength will develop, the capacity will develop. So the capacity of the mind to hold on to that idea in the beginning is not there, but slowly that will develop also. Then doubts and things come. You're not able to hold on to one conviction. That's a problem. So when you repeat that mantra, somehow that inner illumination will come, and it will come not, it comes more out of your experience than just borrowing some idea or reading it from some book. Okay, that experience is the real source of good conviction. I know whatever people tell, I know from my own personal experience something as such. So experience comes when you engage with it. That was the third one. Pramada is delusion. Delusion that this world is real, the enjoyment, happiness is there, everything. No, it's all temporary. The reality is inside, but we mistake it to be outside. Okay, in general. Alasya is sloth, laziness. Don't want to get up in the morning. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. You should be up and meditating, but it's too cold for some reason. Today I'm not feeling so well. You'll find the mind will play all its games like little children. Try to not do it. You have to be a little strict with yourself and say, come what may, we are not going to let you go in there. It's good for you. It's not in the beginning very, very pleasant, but after some time it develops a taste. That was very nice. They started off beautifully, and I found that everything was in proper space. I like that. I don't want to miss that, because that half an hour in the morning makes my whole day better. And if I miss out that half an hour, the whole day is out of all over the place. So it's good to invest there. And that type of, once you get a taste of it, then your mind says, I better do this, otherwise I'm going to suffer the rest of the day. That way you prime yourself. At the beginning, you push it, you begin to feel the strength coming out. Like when you go to the gymnasium, after some days, you see the muscles coming out, you feel good about it. Likewise, the mental muscles will develop, spiritual muscles will develop, and you have a general sense of better well-being. So these are up to there. Then the rest are called Bhranti Darshana, erroneous perception, darshan. That means you don't see things in the right way. Okay, when you see things with this physical sense organs, we see only the names and forms. We don't see the entity behind it, either the person or the mind, the intellect, whatever is there. Or we mistake something for another thing. Okay, so these are the limitations of the senses and the mind. And no matter how much you walk through them, they will always, this constitution of that, we have to get rid of this instrument of the senses or the mind, and use a higher sense, the intuitive sense, which is faultless. Instinctive, you'll make a mistake. Rational, you can get confused. Intuitive, you can't explain it, but you know, the sixth sense, the hunch, it is right. That power is to be awakened. It's a higher spiritual power, and you'll find that those who meditate, they will get this stronger. They know it, something is there. Maybe they can't explain it rationally, logically, but they're closer to the truth. The truth is flashing from within somehow. Then comes this other two, non-attaining of any yogic state. Yogic state means concentration. You try to concentrate, the mind, again, other thoughts crowd in. You try to push them out, holding onto your mantra, other things come, and you feel little unhappy. I'm trying so hard, but there's no other way. It's like going to the gymnasium. You lift something, it comes down, the gravity pulls it down. You lift it up, the gravity pulls it down. But you don't say, hey, after 5 attempts, I can't do it, type of thing. Then you'll never develop. You keep on working up. After some time, you will develop the capacity to overpower the pull of gravity. So the mind develops the capacity to exclude the things out and hold on to what is there. That comes through exercising. That's why japat siddhi. Repeat the mantra. Focus on that. Ignore the problems for the time being. Okay. Think of the light, not of the darkness. Okay, don't say it's too dark, too dark. Let me focus and bring the light. The darkness will automatically disappear. That is the approach. And so then is this alabdha bhumikatva, non-attaining to any yogic state. And then unsteadiness. That means you get it for a while, but you're not able to maintain it for that. Okay, so you're able to concentrate on some days, the mantra is going on very nicely. Other days, it's not so good. That is, so these are the chitta vikshepa, obstructions or distractions of the mind. Okay, the obstructions or obstructing distractions of the mind are disease, incapacity of the mind, doubt, delusion, lethargy, clinging to sense enjoyments, false perception, non-attaining concentration, and falling away from that state of concentration when it is attained for a while. So we all, those who practice, know that these are the issues that we face. Then what are the other disturbances that arise from a distracted mind? These are all the problems of a distracted mind. Okay, the others are dukkha, sorrow, which upsets us because we are in unhappy zone, so to say. In a comfortable zone, something moves us out of there, we are experiencing dukkha. Dauramanasya, mental distress or dejection. Okay, in this age and time, that's a big problem. Depression, we call it. Mind goes down. So here, you see, the science of yoga teaches that that's a problem, and it's also telling the solution, which doesn't mean taking antidepressants. Antidepressants here means taking the mantra, not some medicine that you pop in that suppresses things. That's why I call davadita. It suppresses for the time, and after some time the effect of that medicine works away and the problem comes up. It's like a spring you suppress, but it bounces back. We want to go to the root cause and eliminate it from there. That means the medicine must be not taken from outside, but from inside. And that's where the power of the mantra comes. It works at a deeper level of our being. You'll not immediately feel its effect, but if you keep on working on it, you'll find the effect is more permanent, more sustained, more stable and steady. Dauramnasya means mental distress or dejection. Angam ejatva, trembling of the body. You'll find that, unsteadiness. Sometimes you'll find people have that tendency to keep on shaking the leg. These are all external symbols, signs of an internal mental disturbance that is manifesting in some activity. The restlessness is there. You can't sit quietly. Something has to keep them engaged, and children have that type of thing, and parents will try to always give them something to get engaged, but they want this, that, all over the place. What is a reflection of that mental state? Other children are there, very calm and quiet. Okay, more sattva guna is there in them, and you'll find that their outside behavior and thought process also is very gentle. You'll see that among people everywhere. Then disturbance or distractions in the inhalation and exhalation. So you'll see that those who are calm and steady, they have a very nice, beautiful rhythm of breath. Okay, and the best when you see somebody sleeping. What a beautiful harmony, inhaling and exhaling in such a deep, slow way. But as we wake up, then it picks up. Okay, you're faster. And when you are in a distracted state, like very, very angry, then you see your shortness of breath and rapidity and all those things up. So somehow the pace of breathing is linked to the mental state, whether it's agitated or calm. But because we can control voluntarily our breath, and we forcefully slow it down, deep breathing in, out, you'll find that immediately it has a counter effect on the mind. The mind also calms down. So when you are in a distressed state, just go to some quiet place, take some 10 deep breaths, inhale in and out. And if you want this, because the Om power is there, you just say, I'm going to just repeat this 10 times. And you follow that. And immediately you'll find the whole body becomes calm, settles down in the minds, and then you're able in control of yourself, and you get a grip on your whatever you're doing, but a decision you're making, not agitated, not getting angry, not reacting to people and all those things, because afterwards you feel bad about it, hurt somebody, you feel sorry, but it's too late. No, get a grip on yourself, regain your balance. The method is these techniques that you practice morning and evening, you utilize that in your day-to-day to maintain a degree of grip on yourself. So grief, mental distress, tremor of the body, and irregular breathing arise from a distracted mind. These are all the problems. How to overcome these distractions of mind, which are impediments to concentration? Okay. We have talked about the problem. We know it in different degrees out of our own personal experience. Tell us the solution. Okay. Tata pratyek Tatha pratishedartham, that means for the purpose of removing those distractions, what is it? Ekatatvam abhyasa. Abhyasa means practice. You do something again and again and again. What is the practice? Focusing on one principle. Ekatatvam abhyasa. For the stoppage of these distractions, there should be practice of concentration on a single subject, and the subject is Om, and that sound is all the time happening, awakening, reverberating from a deeper dimension of our being. We don't have that subtlety of perception to hear it, but through regular practice, as concentration develops, as the subtle sense of perception develops, Yogis means those who have developed that subtle perception can feel and hear that sound constantly arising from the navel upwards. Actually, the source is from the top. It comes down and it bounces back, so to say. What we hear is the echo. So I send something out, and it bounces at a gross level on the wall and comes back to us. Okay, so the Om sound comes from Shabda Brahman, Supreme Being, at the highest level of the consciousness. It flows down through our system to these different chakras or the planes of consciousness. And when it hits one of them, something bounces back. That subtlety that we experience bouncing from the navel chakra, Manipura chakra upwards, is really a reflection of that energy that is now. And we can ride on that reflection, jump onto that bandwagon, so to say, and say, take me back to the source from where it came. So you see, it's a very powerful method of promoting your physical wellness, mental wellness, emotional wellness, moral wellness, and spiritual wellness. The problem is there, the solution is within us. The art and science is being taught through this yoga of Dhyan yoga or meditation, which we have been discussing, trying to get some understanding, and with that understanding, to have some conviction that I will experiment with this and verify it in my own life and use this to discover, remove the coverings of who I am really. And as the saints and sages say, we are that beautiful, pure, perfect, eternal, immortal Atman. I want to have that experience. And this is the method we are going to follow. So let us meditate. As usual, a short meditation. We do it for 5 minutes or so, just to teach you the process, but you should practice starting with at least half an hour, perfectly 1 hour if you can do. Then you'll feel the real power of that practice. Going to the gymnasium and doing little bit exercises will not make you very strong. You have to really sweat it out. So here again, that practice should be there. So let us sit up straight. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your back, neck, and head in a relaxed, upright position. Feel your body to be strong and steady and healthy. Focus on your breath. Inhale and exhale slowly and deeply. As you do, repeat the mantra Om in a deep, rhythmic way. Imagine that you are breathing in light that fills your whole body, illuminates every cell and every corner of your mind with its positive energy. Let's pray for the welfare of all beings. May that universal consciousness, who is called by different names as God, Bhagwan, Allah, Ishvara, who is of the nature of infinite existence, knowledge, bliss, peace, purity, out of whom all these universes and living beings have come, by whom they are all sustained, into whom they all return. May that divine being be gracious to us. May it withdraw our mind from the external pursuit of external enjoyments and knowledge and turn around and dive within itself to that eternal source of happiness and bliss and knowledge and joy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be joyful. May all seek the divine within themselves. Send out your prayers to your right. See your thoughts going out forever, touching and uplifting all those it comes across. Send it to your left, in front, behind, above, below, in all directions. And focus your mind in the center of your heart. Visualize your body to be strong and healthy. Visualize your mental body full of beautiful ideas and thoughts, finer than this body, penetrating through this body, overlapping this physical body. Beyond that is your causal body, the body of intelligence, which is even finer than the first two and interpenetrates the other two and is the source of the other two. Beyond that is that infinite ocean of consciousness, endless light in all directions, without any waves, pure, calm, and steady. In that ocean of consciousness, visualize a beautiful lotus, fully bloomed, full of freshness and fragrance. In the center of that lotus, visualize a flame, steady like a lamp kept in a windless place, spreading its radiance in all directions, dispelling all darkness. You may replace that flame with any divine form of your choice or your chosen ideal as given by a spiritual teacher. Feel its loving presence, its kindness and compassion, its eagerness to bestow the grace in form of a spiritual illumination, devotion, knowledge, discrimination, and dispassion. Devi Sampatti is the nearest and dearest in our eternal Mother and Father. Feel His presence and repeat the name, the mantra that has been given by your spiritual teacher. If you're not initiated, you may just repeat the mantra Om, knowing that the mantra and the deity or the divine are one and the same. As you read the mantra, feel its energy reverberating throughout all these bodies, purifying them, removing all the distractions, making them strong, healthy, pure, perfect. And as that light becomes stronger and stronger with each repetition of the mantra, Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरि ओम तत् श्रीरामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु. At the end of your japa and meditation, offer the result of your spiritual practice to the divine consciousness that dwells in your heart, knowing that all that was possible because of the divine power within, and that divine is the real doer. The results really belong to him. Pray for his and pray for the well-being of all, and try to maintain an undercurrent of this thought or the japa or the mantra during the day as much as possible, and in the evening again come back and give a mental and spiritual wash to your mind, so that all the dirt that it has accumulated in the day is washed away. That is how we take care of our own mental being. Do it with great sincerity and devotion, and you will feel its effect yourself, and then that conviction will drive you further. Until next time, we hope you will enjoy your meditations and keep safe and keep well. Namaste.